Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. We're talking about how to be collaborative and casual, how to, be nice, but yet be taken seriously as a leader. I've had somebody ask me recently, I come across, I try to be inclusive, I try to be casual, and yet, you know what? For some reason, I just feel like people aren't taking me seriously. Maybe I'm just not being assertive enough. Maybe I'm not, I need to be more authoritative. How do I be the right kind of leader to have people listen to me and respect me? So that's what we're talking about today. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe. I'm the founder and CEO of Lead Physician Online Leadership Program for physicians and also the Chief Medical Officer of American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Lead Physician, to hear any future ones and the previous ones of these topics on leadership. So let's get back to it, and we're going to be bringing on Dr. Adam Harrison, who's been here before. Let me tell you a little bit about Adam. Adam has a significant background for coaching and helping physician, but he's also a family physician lawyer and an ex-medical director. He's been in leadership. He's an international leadership coach from an NHS Leadership Academy. And he has, these links that I'm going to be putting in the show notes, but inspiringwomenleaders.buzzsprout.com is his podcast. And if you go to his website, dradamharrison.com, he's on multiple platforms on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, and he's all the way in Nottingham, England. So let me just bring him on, and then we'll talk to him a little bit more about this topic. Thank you so much for being here again. I really appreciate it, Adam. It's good seeing you again. How's England?
Cheers. Thanks, Elsie. Yeah, no, thanks for having me again. Yeah, it's all right. It's 9:15 here, so it's dark. It's raining. Pretty miserable. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So
well, I'm
all
here
good.
in New York,
I'm
and you're in
inside.
England. Thank you so much. It's great to share things with international speakers like you. Let's get right to it. How do I be nice and be respected, and at the same time get people to listen to me as a leader?
Okay, so I see the question there: how to be collaborative,
Yes.
and maybe not seen to be
casual, collaborative.
Want to be taken seriously, and of course the lawyer in me, wants to break that down and forensically analyze every term, and it's kind of like, so what does collaborative mean? What does it mean to you? What's the generic meaning? What does it mean to other people? What does being casual mean? Is casual, is it just being kind of kind and generous and thoughtful and friendly, or is it just kind of like messing around and engaging in banter and being too playful and disruptive? And what does it mean to you? What does it mean to different people, to the people who are perceiving you? They're looking to you for a leadership, for a steer in the direction. What does being taken seriously mean, and who are these people who are wanting you to be taken seriously? Who are they? Is it your team, your direct reports? Is it your peers, the other directors? Is it your line managers? And it's really important to kind of dissect this, I think, because there are really different answers for the different kind of aspects to this, I guess. I think we can all agree, and I know you do because you came on my show and you are a collaborative leader. I know this, that being collaborative is a great leadership trait to have. To me, it kind of implies and encompasses servant leadership, inclusive leadership, compassionate leadership, relational leadership, all of these really good leadership paradigms. I think that encompasses, and being collaborative is a way of using others' strengths to innovate and be creative and think of interesting ways to get things done, to get achieve an outcome. No person is an island. You can't come up with all the solutions on your own. That's why you delegate. That's why you kind of bring people on and employ people who have different strengths, so that you can all kind of work together for the betterment of the organization. So surely being collaborative is good, but you're right. It's your clients are right to be concerned, because there is a gray area, isn't there, where you can be seen as being, you know, overly engaged with your team, such that, you know, there's almost a blur between who's the leader, where is the leadership,
Right.
why we're not seeing any leadership, although, with the servant leadership paradigm, the leader is the servant. Leaders eat last. They make sure that everyone has everything they need to do the job well, and they're kind of working away almost silently in the background.
Right. And making it safe for people to voice their opinions. Otherwise, if you speak first, then they might not speak at all.
Well, exactly. And that's, the thing about, that kind of casualness is that if you're a follower of Brené Brown, which, I certainly love her work, kind of like being, sort of, daring to lead, being brave, being courageous, being authentic, being vulnerable.
Right.
You need to be approachable. And I think we talked a little bit about approachability before, but if you're not approachable, if you are this kind of command and control authoritarian leader, to use one of Daniel Goleman's leadership style categories, then when things are going wrong, if they're afraid to approach you to say, oh, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, I can't see a way forward with this particular problem, or such and such has happened, can you help me out of this situation? Things are just going to get worse and worse if people are afraid to ask you, and they just kind of try and sweep things under the rug. And because what I think you're putting on the screen, but the basic requirements of being approachable, in my opinion, are to be visible to your team and to be accessible. And I know for a fact that in my first medical director role, and we talk about this a lot, as medics, we have no leadership training at medical school or during residency. I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what the expectations were. I didn't realize that my team would be looking for me all the time, and kind of like, just when you walk into the office, like, oh, Dr. Adams here, or something, like, you don't realize that people are actually saying these things. It's really odd when you find that out. And I wasn't in the office as much. I was working more remotely. I wasn't responding to emails as quickly as I could have done. And it was pointed out to me by my line manager. And when he told me that I wasn't as accessible and visible in that way, I was like, I see why that's important. And then the other aspect, I suppose, of approachability then is having the right kind of personality to be approachable, not to be a dictatorial leader that scares people off, but to be someone who is, warm and kind and generous, and someone that the team want to speak to and want to talk to, and feel comfortable, psychologically safe, as you alluded to before, to go and say there's been a problem, or I've made a mistake, because we all make mistakes, and we can't be afraid to tell our bosses that, because otherwise things are just going to get worse and worse.
So I mean, the person I spoke to said that he knew that he wanted to make sure that people felt that they could approach him, that he was approachable. He felt like he wanted to have people feel safe, but at the same time, he felt that there were moments when he wasn't getting the respect, and maybe he wasn't being seen, or maybe he wasn't being taken seriously. So how do we balance that? Making sure that we're being collaborative, but then at the same time that we can lead and have people listen to what we're saying.
Well, firstly, I'd like to know, and again, this is kind of like going back to the lawyer. I'd like to know where your client's evidence for the fact that they weren't being respected and felt that they weren't being listened to is coming from.
It's in our heads.
It's the inner critic, isn't it? It's it's we're telling ourselves a story.
Right.
And actually there's no clear evidence. So you've got to look hard for the evidence. You've got to find out that someone has said that, or someone may have said it to your face, and may have said it behind your back. But you've got to find some kind of decent evidence to support that assertion for a start. But yeah, I mean, okay, so there's definitely a middle ground to be had, because there's that old saying, familiarity breeds contempt, which comes from, it's an old, I think, outdated saying. But the more friendly, the more kind you are, people are going to take advantage of you.
Right.
That's what people used to think. But we know now that research is showing that actually being authentic and vulnerable and kind actually works in the opposite way. And I think also your clients sort of again, their idea of what casual means. I mean, to some people, just exchanging pleasantries at the water cooler by a certain generation of leaders would be deemed too casual.
Right.
But now that's the minimum that you should be expecting is to be having a little chat with your colleagues and so on. I think, and we were talking about this before, I think if you are kind and compassionate and thoughtful most of the time, when you need to be taken seriously, and there are very clear situations in medicine when that need arises. And I'm thinking, of the most obvious would be a code blue. I'm sure we've all turned up to code blues in the past, and honestly, to use a sort of a casual British phrase, it's looking like a dog's dinner.
Right.
It's a mess.
Yes.
The patient's obviously dead, and from what's going on, there are no signs that this patient is going to be resuscitated. So if you come in and you can see this, objectively, you can see what is going on. You just have to take control.
Yes.
And you just have to. But again,
you need to switch from that collaborative style to being a more authoritative. So
exactly,
it's not just you're saying it's not one type of leadership.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because there's a time and a place for all the different leadership styles, and we know that command and control has an overall negative impact on the work environment. Very clear and it's very easy to understand why that is. But I'm not saying you have to come in and start shouting and barking your orders and being rude and offensive to people to get them to do stuff. You can be very clearly in control and in charge, but be calm.
Right.
So, you need to do this now, please. You do this now, please. You do, this needs to be done now, please. Can someone do this? Great, thanks. It doesn't really waste any time. Just kind of like adding in a bit of politeness. And I think the thing is that when you shift into that gear, people who are used to you being a very nice, chilled out, calm, inoffensive, friendly kind of leader, when they see you like that, they're like, oh, he or she is not normally like this. We better listen to them and take them seriously, because they clearly mean business at this time. And then afterwards, you have a good debrief, and you say,
absolutely,
I hope I didn't upset anyone, but the situation called for me to take charge. And I hope I did that, in a kind of in a good way. But that's not my style all the time.
Yeah, that's not me. But this had to be done, and people understand that. They understand. So I mean, I love that. You, in a nutshell, I think you're just saying that, you're being authentically you. You obviously have to have a degree of self-image and self-confidence in yourself as a leader in order to prevent this negative self-talk that you're talking about. But then at the same time, maybe set out expectations to people that this is who I am. And we kind of spoke about offline importance of values. So as we're closing here on the short podcast, can you just touch on the importance of values and what kind of leadership style you're using?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I going back to the wanting to be taken seriously, or being the perception of, am I not being taken seriously? Who do you want to be taken seriously by? I want to be taken seriously by people that I respect, and I want my team members to be people that respect me, not leaders in another department who have their own agendas, and they, whatever is going on in their world, that's fine. They do them, and I'll do me. And the way I do that is by, leading and, and living and leading through my values. And my values are honesty, gratitude, love, humor, and justice. And if I'm leading by those values, and I personally think that I will be respected by the people that I need to be respected by. People that kind of understand that I need to work in alignment with those values, and that those are values that enable me to be kind and authentic and vulnerable and be a servant leader. I just, that for me is being my authentic self.
Yep.
Is by leading through my values.
Yeah. And I had a speaker here before, and he's also been on faculty on lead physician, is Bob Underwood. He actually wrote a book called the medical profession, a book for leadership for medical professionals, and he actually writes about a leadership philosophy statement. So he actually writes a whole statement on his core values, and he actually gives it out to people in his department, so they know exactly what he stands for.
That's
There's no
amazing.
question when something happens why he's being the way he is.
Yes.
So I think transparency and who I stand for, what we're about, being able
that's a
to,
great idea.
it's the conglomeration, and basically it's just being human, right? When it comes down to it, it's just how do you treat people correctly with respect, so that they treat you with respect, and then everybody understanding how things work in your department and your organization. Thank you. This is so good. I want to talk a little bit about as we close here, your program that's coming up. You brought this up to me, and this is along the same lines of kind of what we're talking about in the last podcast: how to be assertive, maintain boundaries, and say no on this platform. Can you tell us a little about it? And we'll put this in the show notes.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it's very much what you alluded to before, that actually if you don't have that self-confidence and you feel like you can't be assertive, then how can you be seen to be a respected leader and taken seriously? I mean, assertiveness is just globally a great thing to practice. But you're right. This course kind of takes you back to how to be more self-confident, and how to have more kind of self-esteem and value yourself and know your worth, and then how to get onto that assertiveness part of the spectrum. So there's the passivity at one end and aggression at the other, with assertiveness in the middle. And then we talk at the end, myself and my colleague, Dr. Ed Pooley, about different scenarios and how you can, utilize assertiveness in these scenarios.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for putting that out for physicians. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe. If you have a topic on physician leadership, please reach out to me at info@drelsiecoe.com. I'd love to hear from you. Also, join our leadership program, leadphysician.org, and just set up a time for a 15-minute screening call if you just want to know what it's about and how that relates to you. Any last words for us, Adam, as we were closing?
As you say, in a nutshell, for me, success in leadership and in life is just living and leading by your values, and particularly by kindness as well. I think kindness gets you a long way, and I don't mean that in a kind of contrived way. Kindness will come back to you tenfold.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time.